Burning Abyss, one of the most famous and coveted archetypes ever created in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. What's up, Devastator Squad? Dazu here. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how you can play one of the coolest decks of all time in the new Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesys format. Alright, Devastators, time to explore another one of my favorite decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! In the Genesys format. We've already created profiles on Blue Eyes Art Dragon and Exo Sister, so definitely check those out on the channel. Links will be in the description below, as well as you can click them on the screen here. Now, we're on the push for 5,000 subscribers on the channel, so if you're new here, please make sure to hit that subscribe button, share the video and the channel out to other people across the community. Make sure to drop a like as well. That helps us out a lot. So let's go ahead and jump into the profile. Alright, so Burning Abyss, super duper cool deck. For those who never played it before, this is a deck that is really just focused around milling a lot of cards. Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss, is going to be your bread and butter card. In this profile today, I'm going to be going through each of these cards, kind of more so in depth, but not like super crazy in depth. So first things first, we got Tour Guide from the Otherworld, aka Too Good from the Underworld. Tour Guide has always been an essential piece to the Burning Abyss strategy because when it's summoned, it lets you special summon a level 3 fiend from your deck or your hand. All of the Burning Abyss cards are level 3 fiends, so she is the perfect card to get all these combos started. Now, one thing I want to say real quickly is all the cards in the side deck are not an actual side deck. These are just honorary mention cards, so please don't go in the comments and be like, hey, this is over 100 points, or why are those cards there? Those are just extra cards we'll talk about at the end of the video. All right, so the main target for Tour Guide is always going to be Fiendish Rhino Warrior. This card, really good. When it's sent to the graveyard, it doesn't matter where it is sent from, you get to send an additional fiend from your deck to the grave, so it just starts a lot of combos and plays and stuff for the deck, because all the Burning Abyss cards will activate if they are sent to the graveyard. It doesn't matter where they are sent from, they will always trigger an effect. This card has an on-field effect as well, which makes so all your fiend monsters can't be destroyed by card effects, which sometimes is cool because all the Burning Abyss monsters will destroy themselves immediately when they are summoned if you control non-Burning Abyss. Okay, next up, Burning Abyss cards. So we're playing 3 of each of the classics. So Graph, Seer, and Skarm. Graph lets you special summon a Burning Abyss from the deck. Seer lets you special summon one from the graveyard, and then Skarm at the end of the turn lets you search for a level 3 fiend, which you can just search Tour Guide, which is really cool to have follow-up for the next turn if you're going first. One thing I'll note about Skarm is this card is not like other things like Bestial Magnament, where if it is summoned, you just get to activate the effect to search, and then the end phase, it's lingering forever to search. Skarm has to be in the graveyard at the end of the turn for you to actually be able to resolve the search. Next up, we have 2 copies of Farfa. When this card's sent to the grave, you can banish any monster on the field, and it'll come back in the end phase. So this is pretty cool to have as like spot removal to get rid of stuff on either player's turn. Then we got some more Burning Abyss names. Again, these do have good effects, but they also, you primarily were just using them as like additional names to summon from your hand. Libic can be pretty useful though, because this card, when it is sent to the grave, lets you special summon a fiend from your hand, but then its effect is negated. So if you summon a Burning Abyss, they won't destroy themselves if you control non-Burning Abyss. Then we've got Calcab, who this one lets you bounce a spell or trap card off the field to the hand. And then this one, Alec, lets you negate a face-up monster. So you do have some cards that you can mill to bounce spells and traps and negate monster effects. Next up, we've got our beautiful TCG exclusive, Bui the Dawn's Light. Now, this card is really insane. When it's sent from the deck to the graveyard, you can search your deck for a spell called Mutiny in the Sky, which is a fusion spell. We'll get to that in a second. But its other effect is absolutely wild. When this card is in your hand, you can target one of your fiend monsters, and then she special summons herself, and then that monster's effect is negated. So if it's a Burning Abyss, for example, it won't destroy itself. And then while this card is face up, all of your cards in the left and right outmost zones can't be destroyed by card effects. So she lingers around. You can summon BAs out there and they won't destroy themselves. So it's kind of neat. Next up, we've got 3 copies of Gameciel the Sea Turtle Kaiju. Just nice to have some like going second cards. And I think Kaijus are always really good cards to just kind of like have to facilitate that. Now, also for just some going second cards, you can obviously set these going first as well, but some spell and trap removal is good. I personally have always liked Twin Twisters. Especially because you get to destroy up to 2 spell and traps on the field. And since this card lets you discard a card, this will get you value out of the effects of the Burning Abyss. So going second, you can just in your draw phase, Twin Twister, discard a Burning Abyss, blow up 2 back rows. If you discarded a Farfa, you can also banish a monster on your opponent's field. So you can get rid of 3 cards for 1, which is kind of nice. Then we got Mutiny in the Sky. This is the fusion spell that fusion summons the monster Luki in the extra deck. We'll get to that in a minute here. But card's pretty cute though because it's easily searchable and you can recycle it all the time, kind of like Hallowed Azamina. It can just go right back to your hand every turn, so you can just keep abusing it if you needed to. Very easy to do just by sending a fiend from your hand or your field to the graveyard. So next up, we got the trap cards. Obviously, we're going to play 3 copies of Fire Lake of the Burning Abyss. We want to hard draw this card. This card is also great to mill into the graveyard because we're going to play Transaction Rollback in the deck. This card's cracked. It's one of my favorites, if not my favorite Burning Abyss card. This card just lets you send 2 face-up BAs off of the board to then destroy up to 3 cards on the field. So you'll get to float and do a lot of crazy stuff with your Burning Abyss cards, especially if you're cycling out Dante's, because they can add back Burning Abyss cards from the grave to the hand, including the Fire Lake, and then you can just blow up the whole entire board. And of course, you can transaction roll back this thing and have no cost. Next up, we got Breakthrough Skill. Breakthrough Skill is just a really powerful card. It's the old school Infinite Impermanence. It's not a hand trap, but you can just set it and negate a card. And then if this card is in the graveyard, you can banish it to negate a face-up monster's effect. Now, it can't do that the turn that it is sent there, but if you go first and you mill some Breakthrough Skills off your Dante's, then great. During your next turn, you can just start your turn to negate monster effects on your opponent's, field by just banishing the Breakthrough Skill. Next up, we got Dino Mischief. There's a lot of good, like, discarding, like, 1-for-1 trade trap cards in the game. 2 of them are actually in the deck. One of them is Paleozoic Dino Mischief. You just discard a card and then target a face-up card and banish it. So pretty nice. Very, 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 very easy to abuse here. We've got Evenly Matched. Evenly Matched, very, very powerful. It's only 10 points in the format currently, so it's a pretty good card, especially in a deck like this where you could just, like, mill it, and if your opponent outs your board, you can just roll back and evenly match them, you know? Obviously, going second, you can just drop it down to, like, clear their field, and then you can start setting up some BA stuff, and then, you know, kind of just kind of control the game from there. Yeah, I've already alluded to it. We've got transaction rollback in this deck. It's a very, very low point cost in the format, so it makes perfect sense to play it in this deck. If you mill it, you can just use it to activate literally all these cards in the deck. You know, pay half your life to just basically blow up the field, negate a monster, banish a card, and then of course with Phoenix Wing Wind Blast, shuffle a card back to the top of your opponent's deck. So it just has a lot of utility here. Definitely you can mix up some different cards and combinations in the traps and stuff like this, but let's go ahead and get into the extra deck. All right, so first up we've got Luke's the Dusk's Dark. This is another TCG exclusive card. This card takes 3 Fiend and or Fairy monsters in the grave. So you just use this with the Mutiny in the Sky, you just shuffle them back. So it's always really cool. You can just like recycle your Tour Guide, your Rhino, you can recycle Buoy, or even just like Burning Abyss names if you needed to. This card's insane though, dude. While it's face up on the field, just like the girl, cards in your left and right most zones can't be destroyed by card effects, so your monsters that you summon there, like Burning Abyss, won't be destroyed by themselves. This card once per turn can destroy a card on the field by sending a Fiend or Fairy from your deck to the grave. So you can just like start or extend or do other stuff with your Burning Abyss cards while also destroying cards on the field. This card also, when a card is destroyed by effect, you can then destroy another card on the field. So if you have like, you know, something like Break Sword, we're going to come up to in a second here, or you summon a Burning Abyss and it destroys itself, this card can also destroy another card. So there's so much power this thing has. Plus, it's 3,500 attacks, so it's so easy to OTK with this deck, dude. All right, here we go. The big boy, Dante, Travel with the Burning Abyss. Absolutely a 3 of. This is the best card. You know, it just takes 2 level 3 monsters, detach a material, and then you can mill up to 3 cards from the top of your deck. Obviously, you want to max that out. He also gets attack points, 500 for each card milled, so he can become a 2,500 beater. And then at the end of the battle phase, if he attacked, he goes to defense mode. So if you don't OTK, he just goes back to defense, so he kind of protects himself, which is kind of cute. But this card is crazy because when it leaves the field and goes to the graveyard, you can just add any Burning Abyss card from the graveyard back to your hand, except that card. But if you have multiple Dantes triggering, the Dantes could actually add each other, or you can have that one Dante add the other Dante, and the other Dante could add like a Burning Abyss trap or the monsters or something. All right, so we already talked about it. We got Phantom Knights of Break Sword. This card is just like a 1-for-1 pop. It lets you target a card on both players' boards and destroy them. Obviously, you can just destroy this card on its own, and then it'll trigger the Luca to destroy another card, so you can obviously get some really good value out of that, because you can also use this to chain block stuff that are attached as materials to the Luke. So you can chain block like Graph or Seer to someone from the deck or the graveyard. With this is chain link too, so your opponent can't immediately respond to the Graph or the Seer, so it's kind of cute. Next up, we got the Nightmare Shark. It's just a attack for 2,000 directly, just as a nice little game ender if you need to. We got DDD Stone King Darius. It's just a nice little extra spot removal card. If there's something you just can't out, if this card battles a monster, it can't be destroyed, and then you get to destroy the card. All right, next up we got Downward Magician. It's just a little rank up monster at the end of the battle phase. When you go to main phase 2, if a rank 3 monster attacks, she can just overlay on top of it, and then she gains some attack, and she also pierces. But this card is just like a way to kind of get some more damage on the board if you need to. It also can facilitate like Zeus combos, because you can just put an extra monster out and then Zeus on top of it, because of course we're going to be playing Zeus in a deck like this. All right, next up we've got Dragon Gate. This is a new card from the 2025 Megatons. It's also a TCG exclusive. It's in here because it's an OTK card. It lets you just alter attacks, and it can attack multiple times. And also the cool thing about this card is it can just go on top of a rank 3 Exceed, so you can just drop it on top of a Dante or something and just go for some crazy damage. I already mentioned we have Zeus. I mean, it makes perfect sense to be in an all Exceed based strategy. Then the last place where we put our last bit of points is into the F-Zero package. Very simple, to go into Utopic Future, and then of course go into the Utopic Draco, so you can have the monster negate kind of thing, and then if it's on the field, you get to steal it. So, all right, so that's it for the deck itself. Let's go ahead and talk about the honorable mention cards. All right, so honorable mention cards, first up is a very simple one, is just the Speedroid package, the, you know, classic Terratop and Taka Tomborg. These are just really good in any kind of like rank 3 deck. It's not in here currently because the Speedroid Terratop is a 3-point card in the format, so it would be a 3, 6, or 9, you know, points valuation if you wanted to play the full package of these. Tour Guide is also in that same wheelhouse, so you can kind of like pick one or the other, or maybe if you just kind of want to drop some of the traps or whatever. We've got Absolute King Backjack. You could obviously switch your Burning Abyss strategy to be even more heavy on the traps, and Backjack is a crazy good card because if it's milled, you can kind of do a lot of cheeky trap shenanigans on your opponent's turn. So this card is pretty nice. There are obviously additional Burning Abyss names. The next one that would be worth playing is Rubik because it's a tuner. It can only synchro summon this card though, Virgil Rockstar the Burning Abyss, who just lets you discard a card and shuffle a card back off the board. But I don't know if this card is really needed or playable or good enough in 2025, but maybe. Of course, Chaos Monsters are really playable in this deck because everything is light and dark. It's so simple to get like lights and dark stacked up, like just in turn 1, just full things ready to rock and roll. So a card like Blackluster Soldier, Chaos Sorcerer, etc., Levianeer, there's very easy cards to play in here. So I just put BLS down because it's kind of the most iconic Chaos monster. Of course, you can just kind of like switch this deck up and become a Phantom Knight build. Phantom Knight Burning Abyss was a very popular deck like 10 years ago, and it still is playable in Genesis. The Phantom Knight package is pretty cool. It obviously lets you search some like negates and monster reborns and stuff, and has some really broken extra deck monsters you can use in the rank 4s. You also can play kaiju stuff. Like you can just do obviously main decking the kaiju Gamma Seals or whatever to just get rid of annoying cards, but you can play additional kaijus if you wanted to cut down your points and play a copy or two of Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. This card, when it's milled into the graveyard, you can just banish it to search for a kaiju monster. This card also has an effect on the board where if you activate it, you basically dark hole everybody and then both players get a kaiju, so you'll take like the big one and you'll give them the weak Gamma Seal. This card is 33 points though, so it's very heavy cost to play. Droplet is also really good in this. It's a 10-pointer, so it is rather pricey on the points, but very good card that you can play in this deck if you wanted to, because the Burning Abyss will trigger when they're sent after a resolution for Droplet. So I mean, it's kind of cool. So there's a couple trap cards that are really good in BA. Fiend Grieving is really good. It just lets you get cards out of your opponent's graveyard, and then you can send a Fiend. So of course it makes sense in a Burning Abyss deck. There's Titanicider. This card's cute because it allows you to make a monster a 0, so it's easy to go OTK. It's also like basically an imperm. It negates effects, and it can reset itself from the graveyard if your opponent summons a monster from the extra deck. Lost Wind, same thing. It's just a card that can negate a monster, and if your opponent summons from the extra deck, it can reset itself. So there's some value in both these cards if they're milled. Karma Cut is another really powerful discarding trap. It lets you discard a card to banish a monster, and then if you have additional monsters that same name in your opponent's grave, they banish all copies. And then, like I said, with the Phantom Knights, you can add the slew of the Phantom Knights, you know, sword cards, the Fog Blade, etc. So, all right, Devastator Squad, that's going to do it for our Burning Abyss Genesis format deck profile today. Please make sure to like the video on your way out, subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and let me know in the comment section below what other decks you want to see for Genesis. And I want to give a huge special shout out to all the members of the Patreon, especially our Dictators of Devastation, Y-Wing Guy, Larry, Quinn, Savvy, Captain Trips, Puppy Pack, The Jazz, our Moon Tier Zephyros, our Monkeys of D, Pepsi, and Galactic, and our Kings of Devastation, Cerberus, Condor FJ, Miguel, and my mom. And a special shout out to all of our channel members, the Kaibamen, especially our Tier 2s, Puppy Pack, and Main Phase 1. Mom, thank you so much for being one of my Kings of Devastation. I love you so much. Devastator Squad, I can't wait to see you in the future videos and live streams that come. And until then, stay awesome.